physical of human perspective.
Welcome to Unbiased and On the Fence. I'm Shane. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We are talking shift. What is up, Michelle? How's it going?
It is going so much better with the new moon. Wow. That was like a rough couple weeks, though. Really draining, but have definitely felt the lift of the new energy. And so, relief, yes. Feeling much better, much brighter, much lighter. Mm-hmm.
So I know in our group we probably have people that don't meditate maybe much or whatever, or just haven't gotten into it. Maybe they do art or something instead. But you know, I mentioned before about having that overwhelming, dizzy feeling after like 20 minutes of meditating and having to cut my meditation short. Well, it's happening within 3 to 5 minutes now. And so I was going to say, those who don't ever meditate, just try it for 3 to 5 minutes and see if the energies are different for you and if you're able to kind of. Because I don't know, you were saying that you have that experience too, where it's almost like a very straining vortex spinning in your head. It almost makes you just want to just go lay down immediately because it's so powerful and just makes you feel like you're super tired or something. But that's the closest thing.
Well, I often am lying down now when I'm meditating, really, because I can be experiencing a lot of different energies, and I do just like to completely physically relax into it now. So, and sometimes sitting up it can be hard on my back, not like it used to be, but I typically do. So maybe try that lying down. And if you fall asleep, you fall asleep. Like, you don't know where you're going when you're doing that work. Maybe you need to be, doing that at that time. Unfortunately, we don't always have the time to do it, but I wouldn't worry too much about if you like fall asleep or if it, maybe just put yourself in a more comfortable physical position. But the other thing I want to remind you did a good description, though. I'd like you to talk a little bit more about what you're feeling in your head.
Yeah,
where in your head, what that was feeling like.
Yeah, not only is it sort of a spinny, dizzy sort of feeling, it feels like if you try to push through it and you just keep going with it, which I did, after about a minute, you start feeling like your muscles are strained or like you had your arm up and you get this achy sort of pain. It's kind of a headache. Sometimes you get these ice pick feelings with it and like just the stabbing pain, but it's really the overwhelming fatigue, like almost on the back of the eyeballs. It's almost like, I'd say like right. It's right where they show the pineal gland being right in the center of your head.
And I think it's that kind of muscle strain, like, because I mean, there's similarities to eye strain, isn't there? Do you feel like we talked about this before?
And it is like it's got an optic nerve and all that stuff.
But it's like you can feel the sensation of those connections. Right?
Yeah.
Of those connections going from here, and going from here into that center, right? And it really feels like overstimulated, and you're feeling that
working. It can almost feel zappy at a certain point.
Yeah.
If you like let it go too strong, it's like you're being almost electrocuted. But I don't get the visuals or anything.
Even like in your head.
Yeah, and ringing and things like that.
Snapping sounds or whatever. But yeah, it can really, and I really think it's like using a new muscle, and it can feel like that. So there is a similarity to eye strain, a similarity to it, but it's really much more centralized. And you're really feeling those, like, so when the ears are really ringing and it's all kind of connect, and you're feeling the throb right on your forehead, or maybe you're feeling the throb or the tingling on your crown.
Yeah.
All these things are kind of kicking in all at once, right? See, because, a year ago we talked about this and it would be like one sensation and another sense. But now think about it, Shane, you're getting all of these, we're getting familiar with all of these things getting stimulated and feeling all of these sensations going off at the same time and feeling these connections, like how it all connects, and that center area of that connection of all that energy, and taking it in, and you're really feeling that stimulation and the use of this muscle,
It's a
this new
very like physical feeling. I mean, you know
yes.
how like if you get very excited, you'll have your stomach, you'll feel like a flip in your stomach, and it's like your solar
Mm,
plexus sort of spun or something, or your heart if the like you know, even when the chat gets really good, you can kind of feel it in your heart, the you know, a
mhm.
very physical sensation, you
And
know.
that's where it's really moved for me now. I really do understand what you're saying, and I think a lot of these descriptions, it's timing. It was a few months ago that we did discuss this, and I brought that up, and feeling that strain and that centralized thing. I'm still getting it, but I think I've really adjusted to it. But because the focus isn't all in here anymore, like we talked about 2 weeks ago when I was on, with the energy in the heart now. So imagine that and what's going on in here, feeling that going on in here.
Well, that's
That's kind
exactly what I was kind of saying it the opposite way. I'm used to feeling it down there, and I didn't put two and two together to figure out what I'm feeling in my head is similar to what I feel in my solar plexus and my heart chakra.
right.
It's like my third eye chakra is kind of making the same sensation. It's just it feels way different if it's in your head
Yeah.
like that, you
Yeah.
know?
I'm
So, but yeah,
finding,
moving
yeah,
it down to your heart or throat or something, I
well,
guess would.
kind of like when we were first discussing it, and and feeling the strain of the connections from the eyes and the ears, and from the third eye and the crown, and feeling all those connections coming together, and even in the throat, you'll feel it in the throat as well, the connections, and the tingling in the back of your throat or the top of your throat, maybe zinging in your teeth and in your jaw. So all that kind of going on, right? So it, like you said, like, starting off a couple years ago, maybe it was all going on in the root chakra, and those changes and adjustments in there, a lot of lower back pain, sensitivity, taking in energy through the hips, different things like that was all really sensitive, and then kind of moving up and adjusting. And now it's kind of like connecting all those pieces, just like connecting all of these things into that center thing. Now I feel like, okay, so that all got connected here, that all got connected here, that all got connected here. Now you're feeling again like that regrouping of connections. um so feeling all the micro going to the macro, and it all pulling together. So it's not that when I'm now pulling my focus to my heart, I'm not losing connection with that stimulation of what is going on here. I'm focusing on the balance of the root chakra with the heart with this, so that the stimulation isn't all lopsided, right? That it's not all top heavy, in trying to move that through. And again, I highly recommend the Steve Noble meditations that he has, help you to really move that energy through and balance it, so it's not all top heavy, so you can feel it running through and making sure, yeah, it's
Okay,
more
so
stimulating.
another thing I wanted to bring up because I brought up the toe twitching that started for me a few years ago, and I was like, "What the heck? My toes have a mind of their own. They'll sit there at their own little thing." But something we noticed, and it was sort of me trying to push through this dizziness, this dizzy sensation. I've started rocking like I don't know some kind of Tibetan Buddhist monk or something. I
Yeah,
started rocking a little bit, and it helps me keep a little bit of spatial awareness so that that dizziness doesn't get so overwhelming that I don't.
yeah.
Because you'll feel like you're falling backwards or forwards. I mean, you can really begin to swim around,
And I
and
was
even with
blown
the
away that
rocking,
you mentioned it. I was
and I
blown away. I love
I've been
it.
noticing I've been doing it through BQH sessions when I'm like connecting with people, and I've seen some channelers do that rocking thing. So I'm like, wow, is that something to do with that? Just kind of naturally. And then the telepathy thing said something about spatial, if you must move around, and so I don't know. It's weird for me because
You
it's
know
like,
what?
yeah, I'm rocking when I meditate sometimes, you know.
That's so it's funny because I've noticed this the last couple weeks, and I'm like, what is going on with me? Like, you're
Oh,
doing it
John
right
Benny
now.
had
Like,
it
you never
too.
did this before,
Yeah.
and I'm doing it all the time. And I'm like, really noticed it the last couple weeks. And I was curious, when you say the spatial thing, I think about it. I think it really does tie into when I with some of the dreams, like this sort of spatial, when I really started working with the clay again
Hmm.
too. And
Right.
I've talked about this sort of different spatial awareness and having some of the experiences in the dreams of having a different awareness, a spatial awareness, in that abundant awareness ability. Um, and it's kind of coincided to when I was getting those dreams, and that seems to have really I'm come kind of come through. I'm realizing maybe that's it. It's this spatial awareness that's the connection. Now I just noticed that I was rocking all the time. Um, the last couple weeks. I'm like, what?
So it's
I'm like,
new for you too?
yes. And I never thought to mention it until you brought it up. And I was blown away because usually it's like a self comforting thing. Like if you're, and I'm like, this is really unusual because I'm not stressed. There's nothing like that. I'm doing it, I'm doing it often in creative times or contemplative times or whatever. And I'm not doing it out of having to de-stress myself. So yeah, to notice that I'm constantly doing this all the time. It feels good. And I'm like, I, yeah, it just feels good. So I just keep doing it.
Oh, okay. I had to bring something up because this just came to mind. I'd forgotten all about it, and I'd realized it. And I was like, oh man, I got to bring that up on the show or whatever. Okay, so when you're going to sleep, and you begin to get those hypnagogic images sometimes. I actually got the DMT tunnel, like the actual. It was a really mild version of what it's like to be on DMT, where you get the fractals of colors or whatever. But I don't think if I hadn't done it before, I wouldn't have known what it was. It would have
Right,
just been like cool colors and
right, right.
fractals, and I probably wouldn't have even noticed it. But for a moment, right before I drifted off to sleep, I saw it. So like the brain's release of the DMT, and I recognized what it was, and I was like, "Oh my god!" And then that's the last I remember. But it was
Yeah.
pretty cool. So
I'm
it's
really
like,
wondering, and that's recently that you felt that tunnel thing. I'm really wondering how much more easily and quickly and often we're like slipping out,
yeah,
like, and quickly, like you
yeah,
said, like it doesn't take long in meditation. And I really, and especially since I had an OBE, and I've known a couple other people that are also popping off and having these things too. There seems to be like a sudden influx of it. And so really think that we're traveling very quickly and with a lot more ease.
yeah.
Um, yeah, yeah,
And we're gonna have
into
more awareness, I think, of the other realms. I think as we're bringing them back and be able to
yeah,
lucid dream better and stuff like that. So I think things are really gonna. That's why I think the whole telepathy thing's important. The whole out of body experience right now is important because we're doing it all the time. It's just I
the
think doing it
awareness of
more on
doing it
purpose. Yeah,
with
and
intention,
awareness. Yeah,
aware intention.
because the whole
Yeah,
telepathy thing happens all the time, and I'm totally unaware of it. That's sort of how the downloads and information bundles come to you, and you're like, I just had this knowing or whatever.
hmm,
That's all in that realm of telepathy, and I think that's coming online. It's really just about having a greater awareness of when it's an idea that's generated in your own mind, and when it actually is a higher level idea that comes into your mind, and having that discernment.
yeah. Yeah, but that is becoming very easy to feel
Mm-hmm.
physically the difference of.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of times it's so overwhelming because it's so much information. It couldn't have originated in your brain. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And a lot of times you're brought to tears because you realize that connection's there, and you can really feel it in that moment. That happens a
yeah,
lot in BQH sessions. You know?
yeah. You know what? I think the frequency of that happen, like we're still getting the ups and downs and the pushes and pulls, and still feeling like you get these deep moments of sadness, that aren't even necessarily from ourselves, and just
Yeah,
these
a lot of
washes
people
of
have been
emotion.
having those. Just so you guys know, a lot of people are feeling these waves of
Just
sadness, depression. But if you realize it doesn't originate within you, you can perceive it a little differently and handle it a little differently.
and you can let it wash through, and you can help transmute it into light.
Yeah.
recognizing it and giving it that acknowledgement and that love and
Hmm.
compassion, and then allowing it to be released and let it flow through you. You don't have to keep it. And but and it's not, it's definitely has been thick like a fog over these last couple weeks at times. um and it's just okay. Like I just have to tell myself too, it's just okay, it's just part of the process. And you know what, just take it easy as much as you can that day, and because you will pop back up, you kind of bob back up to the surface, and you're like, oh wow, okay, yeah, this is where the magic is, right?
Yeah.
This is where the joy is. And it's still, it's hard. I mean, the end goal is that we want to bring that joyful experience into all of these moments, and recognize that. But it's still a challenge at times right now, it really is, and especially has been over the last couple weeks of May. There were really
Is everything in retrograde? I heard and that kind of brings along the negative
we
feelings
have
or something.
another Mercury retrograde coming up. It's like,
Their
it's
years are Mercury has some fast years, don't they?
yeah. Slow down. Like, you were in such a rush to go backwards.
Gosh, it seems like, I don't know, 60, 90-day years or something like that.
Yeah, I know. It was Mercury had simmer down. So I don't know, but
Simmer down.
we'll see how we experience it this time, right? I don't know. So, but it's just letting those things flow. I've definitely had a big release the last couple days myself, and was really feeling bogged down with a couple concepts um that I need to move past, and was in my own mind and wasn't sure how, and really felt the release of that. And sometimes it just takes time to let those things percolate and let that information just flow up to the surface, right?
Right, yeah.
And guaranteed, when when you ask that specific question in your mind and sleep on it and put a prayer on it, you'll get the answers. So you just have to be honest enough with yourself to be asking the right questions. That's the trick,
So true, yeah.
right? And willing to hear what the answer is. So
Yeah, we lie to
just
ourselves more
asking
than
the
anybody.
wrong questions, it's like you're not standing over the target. So
So I'm really excited about ECETI. I've been putting together the information. I want to share my screen because, oh, also, before we move to that, because I was talking to Carrie Camp, she's like learning the piano, and you had an app that you were using. I told her I'd ask. It's called Simply Piano. Is that
yeah,
right?
yeah. Now you have to pay for it. But if you're, comparatively to what lessons cost, the fact that I play, like I've made good use of it. I play every single day, and allows you that freedom to work at your own pace.
And it
So
has like chord sections, and it's got
yeah,
beginners,
music,
intermediate.
learn to play chords. I'm on the intermediate level now, and
So it
I
like tracks
started.
your progress and all that.
Yeah, it listens to you as you play. So it hears when you make the notes or not, and you literally read the music and you play along, and
So you
it
have it like on your phone or iPad or something.
I'm on my iPad. So I just put the iPad boom right up there, just like you'd read music, and it just goes through the courses, and it just has you practice, and it just teach little bit by little bit, and it just adds on another element and adds on another element. And the nice thing is you can do it whenever, it'll give you the reminder to there's a 5-minute practice. You can just do the 5-minute practice every day, or you can just work on the courses, or you can just play the songs, or there's a whole other section that's just sheet music if you want to go just play sheet music and play with that. So there's always something for me to do on it every single day. So being able to do it every single day,
Gets fun too when it's like all the muscle memory kicks in
it's
and
getting good now. Yeah,
yeah, you
it's
get over
getting
that
good.
hump. A lot of people give up. The statistics show people give up before they get over that hump because they think it's not going to get easier. But at some
It's
point, you get over that hump and your body starts taking over, and your like hands are doing different things, and you're like, "How's this happening?"
yeah. Oh, it's playing the piano.
Right.
Yeah, I know. And they're just doing it, and I'm like, I can't believe, like, and it's really cool because it scrolls along, so you're like following the notes, and it's really cool to like even just pick a song that I haven't even played before, because I can read the music now, and I just reading it, and my hands are just playing it, you
Yeah.
know and I haven't even read the music, and I'm just doing it, and that's really cool. I'm
I remember
surprising myself.
when my dad was like 60, I had that Mavis Beacon typing program, and I got it for him. I'm like, here, play with this on the site. Came back in like a week, and he goes, look, I'm able to type all this, and he's like
Yeah,
typing, and he's like
and that's
freaked out that he can
yeah.
do it, and I'm like, that's so cool. Yeah, it doesn't take long and stuff.
No, yeah, yeah.
He was just bored. It was funny though.
Well, the nice thing was there's a lot of different music on it too. There's so many different. You're always just constantly playing different songs and stuff to practice with, so that's really fun. So you're
Songs you
actually
know,
playing songs, yeah, as
right?
you go and doing practicing bits. So it is fun. It costs a little bit, but if you were going to pay for lessons or thinking about the investment, it's definitely, I think, a better investment than the lessons.
Well, I put the. Let me share my screen because I want to. Something I came across that I thought was really cool was. Let me share this one. When I pulled up, let me see if I can get this up here. Okay, so I pulled up directions from Portland. So those who are flying in to ECETI would fly into Portland Airport, and then it's like an hour and a half ride over to. Let me make this full for everybody to see. Then you have to like rent a car, or you can. I think there's a shuttle service, but I thought it was kind of expensive, and like if people can that are flying in can maybe rent a car together or something like that if they want to try to save money or whatever. But it's actually marked on here, and I put this link below. It's the super long one, but when you scroll in here to where ECETI Ranch is and click this little thing right here, it pulls up pictures over here. I don't know. Let me see.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah, you can check it out.
That's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
Tons of pictures people took from there. Beautiful.
Nice.
So I put the web address below. I'm going to make a video that's going to point out what all the stuff is, but the frequently asked questions are down below, and there were some orb pictures in here. Let me try to.
Bigfoot crossing.
Yeah. I was trying to get to. It was a really cool orb picture.
I know we've got some Sasquatch fans out there.
Definitely. It's pretty cool.
Cool.
A lot of cool artwork there. Cool looking buildings and stuff. Pretty cool. I don't want to show any people. You guys can click on these yourself and tent setup. That's a cool rainbow. But anyway, you guys can scroll down. Look at that. That's cool. It's airbrushed or something. Here's the orb one that I thought
Yeah,
was really neat.
yeah, I've seen that one.
That's really neat.
Pretty cool, eh?
So anyway, I do have the links below if you guys wanted to actually call them and reserve your place. It's August 8th through, there we go, August 8th through the 11th this year. And like I said, I'll be putting out a video, but it's basically just going to have the information in it that's down below right now and the frequently asked questions. And let's see. And right now they don't have anything up on the events page to reserve it that way, so you have to either email them or call that number to reserve a tent or whatever. It's invite only, so you can't just show up there. I thought you could, but you have to actually let them know that you're gonna, even if you're not staying there. Right. I think it's like $10 to get in or something. It's not expensive at all, but
right.
Suggested donation, they say.
Right. Fair
it's
enough.
Like one of those legal loopholes. I like that.
Well, fair enough.
But yeah, they're going to have the bathrooms and sinks and showers open, and some of the other accommodations they said might not be open. I guess it's late in the season. I don't know if they're short on volunteers or whatever, but if the weather's good, they'll have the cameras out and things like that on a couple of the nights, so that'll be cool.
Yeah.
But we'll have each other. We'll have guitars and little drums and
a mountain. There's a mountain.
Yeah, and I think there's a fire ban right now. So, or there will be then because I guess it's a risk of forest fires or something.
Oh
but,
yeah. Okay.
But yeah, it'll be fun.
It'll be fun. Yeah.
We'll be together.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's the main thing.
We talked about this for a while, so yeah, good times. I'm looking forward to it. Getting excited about it now. It's getting closer.
So haven't had anything with the dreams at all yet?
I'm definitely I'm like, it's not coming. They've been. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. What do I say lately? I definitely feel working through and releasing, there's been certain images that I have that have shown me the removal of like foundational stuff no longer required. So
Right.
there's been symbolism regarding that, and it actually felt very like a very sort of therapeutic feeling while doing it. It was like this process, and um, I was aware of it. It was like removing bricks. It was like removing bricks, but I was aware of it on a deeper level, and it felt very therapeutic. But I was actually removing bricks in a sense here, physically, so it makes sense the transition. But I felt that the whole process itself was relevant and was therapeutic for me on different levels, and I think that that's what the dream was showing me. So my mom had, my mom was here on her own and had hired somebody 2 years ago to do some work, and they did, but did not finish the job, and left her with this massive pile of brick, like mortar, like big huge bricks. Like she can't get rid of this on her own. So she did do some of it, but I tried to get her to stop. So she didn't hurt herself.
Just
So let's keep going and
put
do
a few
more.
bricks in the trunk every time you leave, and
Yeah, well, I had the lawnmower with the wagon, and I just worked on that and did it, and it was very physical. It was good to be outside and physical, but I think that the dream was showing me there was a foundational process going on as well that was just physically represented, and that was really kind of cool. And I felt the process emotionally in the dream. I saw the physical representation, I
right,
saw the connection, and also very much felt this lifting process within me, and it felt really great. So a lot of the dreams have been like that, but in a lighter way, not so heavy, and it's not thick with all the messages, and it's not, so having to be so detailed with giving me specific information. Definitely a lot more time to just enjoy process. I'm still getting a lot of the harmonizing themes, and that was still kind of what the bricks were. It was like balancing, removing, balancing, harmonizing. That really seems to be so. Even if I'm interacting or doing something within the dream, the equation of it itself is for harmonics, for harmony. And I feel the results of it within me, within the dream. So it could be very almost like this rocking thing that we're doing, and it kind of feels like that, within the dream, and just kind of releasing these things and letting them go.
right.
But it's a very soothing process, just like this rocking is. I think there's something connected to that. I'm just getting that sensation with it, that it just feels like it's connected to that. And the spatial awareness thing, because if you think about the bricks and this moving here and placing here, and
Right.
it
Yeah.
feels good, and it feels like you're balancing, and it feels like I'm choosing, and it's a very tactile thing of moving these and feeling that balance, and it just feels good, tuning and balancing and harmonizing. And I think it's the subtleties of that. So there's not all this pressure of missions and detailed informations that I'm having to like recount afterwards and go through all these different processes, or um it's just, yeah, it's much like the rocking that we're doing right now. That's really what it feels more like at night now. Just mhm.
So I had a pretty exciting dream,
Oh,
and I don't
good.
know if it's for everything we were having going on here locally in Tulsa, but it was an evacuation dream, and we flooding. There was horrible flooding, and then there were sinkholes, but it wasn't scary. It was exciting. It was like, wow, stuff's really
Stuff's
happening
really
or whatever.
happening. Yeah.
Right, but it wasn't scary at all. But
Yeah.
yeah, I did. But it could have been a local thing because I've heard about sinkholes and flooding. So
Well, it
who
is
knows?
going on.
Yeah, it's
I don't
going
know.
on.
Are
Maybe
you
I was
tapping
tapping into it.
active and
Yeah,
picking up on just other people's experience and stories because you're just more open to tapping into that, and or maybe other fractals if you
Yeah.
You that are out there participating in what's going on.
Totally. Yeah, it could be
You
something like
know,
that. Yeah.
possibly, yeah. And just, I mean, those events are going on. Jesus, with the tornadoes you guys had, and all
Hmm.
the flooding and the water. I mean, those things are happening now. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's pretty normal. I really do think that a lot of us do get that. And I think sometimes it's confusing to us because we think, well, am I seeing something that's going to happen in my personal experience? But if you get like a lot of the dream stories, really get a sense that that's not what it is, that you're actually just tapping, that those things are going on, and you're just kind of tapping into those other television screens that are.
Well, you know how everything's frequency and vibration? I wonder
Yeah.
if just that happening to so many people are putting out this unified signal conscious, because we're all really connected, but maybe this one stream of consciousness is so strong in this area right now. Maybe I just picked up on it and dreamt about it. You know
Yeah,
what I
like,
mean?
or even the energy that
And,
people were putting off and experiencing
and
those
put
things.
my own people into the story, because it was still like my family and, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah, but I do see
yeah.
that. Yeah, and
That's wild to think about, yeah, when you
I
really
think
think
that's
about
part of it. I don't think, so I think if you're getting dreams like that, I don't think it's necessarily that you're actually going to end up experiencing those things. I think sometimes that confused me too. Like, where does that fit in that?
it.
Because
Yeah,
I got a lot of those dreams initially early. I don't really get them so much anymore, but I do get still definitely reports of them, and a lot of reports of them. And I don't think it's necessarily that you're going to go through that experience, but I think that even if you do, like you said, there was no fear. It's showing you, and it may be part of that training ground too, prepping you. Like, you may not go through that exact experience, but that you can go through these experiences in a
yeah.
balanced way. Like,
Hmm.
and you recognize, and it gives you an opportunity to sort of see that, maybe preemptively beforehand, before witnessing anything. It doesn't matter. It doesn't mean a sinkhole is going to open up underneath your house or any of those things. But I think those things are going to be going on around us,
Hmm.
and I do feel that the synchronistic awareness that we carry, and this being tuned in and being tuned into the frequency, I do believe sets us up in a position that does protect us from those things happening.
Sure. Yeah.
Synchronistically keeps us safe in a way. The synchronicities sort of combine to create these sort of miracle positionings, and I think a lot of ways that buffers us. And I think that's part of the thing with the dreams, that we don't have that fear in the dreams when we're experiencing those things, because we
Hmm.
know that our maneuvering through it, we're okay. Like, we're never going to be in the spot when the anvil falls from the sky. That's, because
Yeah.
we're tuned in synchronistically.
Yeah, I actually think they're talking about the state of emergency. I think actually President or Vice President Mike Pence is probably in town right now, I think. At some point today, I think he was coming to see the damage or whatever in the area. But yeah,
Oh,
it's crazy because you're like, you go over the bridge and it's like you never see the water that close to the bridge. It's usually like big enough for boats to pass underneath, and it's like
yeah,
way up there, and all of the shores are just trees. I mean,
yeah,
like
yeah,
underwater trees. So it's pretty bad and crazy looking, and it's really moving fast too. When you go look
yeah,
at it, it's like really rushing, like I've
yeah.
never seen. So it's crazy.
Yeah, well, you know what? You just try to be prepared without being panicked, right? And
Yeah,
yeah, I think our spidey senses will be tingling when there's a need to, move or put yourself in a better situation. And it's just being calm enough to recognize you can't, if you panic in any of these kind of situations, you're not, you can't listen to your spidey senses.
yeah, because you're in the fight or flight mode. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
So, I think the dreams do help us to sort of practice through those different kind of scenarios, see that we can handle them and we can move through them, with a confidence, or without having to be fearful. And it will help if we do come across those scenarios or instances to be able to go through them that way.
yeah. So wow, it's like you see all of the people here. There's like a lot of fundraising going on, and homeless, or people that's been sort of kicked out of their home or had to evacuate, the worries about levees. So the energy is really high when you're in an area like that, and everybody's worried about that. But I love to see everybody coming together too. There's a whole beautiful side to this whole thing
Oh,
that not everybody goes and starts looting and stuff. Most people don't do that sort of thing. Most people help their neighbor or
yeah,
lend a helping hand, and I think
that's
that's the
true. And
beautiful
that's not the
process.
stuff they show you on the news.
No, it really isn't.
They'll
But
show
it's
you
so
one
touching,
looter as opposed to showing you 100 people out
Hmm.
helping. So just always keep that in mind. Well, even with these things that are going on, watch as little of the news as possible. If you have a few good sources, you can, monitor to look for any changes and stuff in your area. But um, I think chaos in the news is going to, really pick up as well. You're going to see, if you want to see the churning of the changes, it's going to be represented there. So it's just a good energy to be aware, to keep at a perspective. So, and maybe tune that out more and more, because if my mom always likes to say, she's like, "Oh, this is going on here, but you know what, I look up and I look outside and it's a beautiful day, so what's all this about?" you know it's a good attitude to have, like to remember that, not be drawn in. And I think when
It
you're going
reminds me of the
through all,
fishbowl
yeah,
example. Like you're in the room, in the middle of the room, in your own little fishbowl, and you're like looking outside of it, but that's not in your sphere of reality.
in a lot of ways, like I was talking about, sort of that synchronicity thing or whatever. And it's not to say that things won't, if you're on the spiritual journey, it's not to say that things won't happen or that you won't lose things. A big part of this journey is actually losing things and being okay with it.
Hmm.
It really is. Um, and so it'd be wrong to say, you know, it's not that these things don't happen to those of us who are aware and awakened and on that spiritual journey. Even if you follow all the synchronicities, um, sometimes we still go through a process of losing things, foundational things, and that can be extremely difficult for us. But it's still part of each individual's process, so it's the support that's there, and it's realizing that sometimes even when you lose everything, you realize that you still have so much. Sometimes it takes losing everything to realize how much you have. It's unfortunate when we have to learn that way, but it's a lesson well learned. That,
Yeah, it makes you realize how much you take for granted.
yeah, yeah, it doesn't take so much to please you anymore.
Yeah.
Take too much, it simplifies things. What do you really need to be happy? What do you really need to be happy? Do you really need all these things um
Yeah.
that we move around with and we carry around with us, and all this stuff that
Absolutely.
we
Yeah, I was just talking
attach
about how I was able to, cut my doctor my prescriptions out and my car payment out and my phone payment out. And I was like, wow, it's like 3 weeks out of the month I worked for all of these things that I was able to just get rid of.
yeah,
And now I can barely make anything doing what I want to do and not have the bills. And it's like just that slight shift. And, I've slowly got my phone back, and
yeah.
or got service on it or whatever. But, at the same time, it's like, you really realize how little you need to get by and how simple things can be.
And I really, you know what, I really have simplified things that if I think of all the things that I had to worry about on any given day or within a month, or the bills to pay and everything, and you think that you can't live without these things, you can. Oh my God, and so much easier. There's so many things that's like, well, how would I ever get by without that? I'm so glad that I don't have those things to worry about anymore. And I may have gone through situations where it was, difficult. you know, Crashing your car is never easy. Like, these things that happen, listen, are not easy, but am I glad they happened? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Might not be at the time, but then you realize what you learned from it and realize that it was an important step,
Yeah.
important rung on the ladder.
Losing a lot of things that I've lost, in the last just last few years. But my life is so much simpler for it. And it really comes down to the question of what do you really need to be happy? And I realize that the answer is so much simpler. It is so much simpler than it was a couple years ago when I had all these other things.
Yeah,
It really,
absolutely.
you know, yeah, big difference. Big
But this,
difference when you can walk out the door and go to Sedona and not even have to have a set of keys to worry about. I was like, that flipped me out. I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Talk about freedom.
yeah,
Talk about freedom. No,
and
I
it can
don't
feel
have a phone
free or it
number
can.
right now. I don't have a phone number. I don't have like and a lot of people, how can you do that? Even my one oldest daughter gives me crap about it. I'm like, I'll get away with it for as long as I can. Like,
Right.
as long as I can. It's
But
just
think about
another thing.
how
When you
vulnerable we feel when we leave the house if we don't have our phones. Like, oh my God, what if something happens? I don't have my phone, and we did fine with it, a
what
couple decades ago.
exactly. Think of how happy I was. I think of how miserable the kids are today. And I think it's because they have all these phones grounding them down. Used to 8 years old, just get them, go out the door. I didn't have to worry about having my phone to call my friend. Like you just go. I think we've forgotten this, so much of those simpler things. That's what really keeps coming back to me the last few weeks is the nostalgia feeling really picking up again, but taking me back to like the 70s where everything was really simple. It was just this because we didn't have all that crap. If you called somebody and they didn't answer, you didn't have voicemail. You didn't have call waiting. Not none of that stuff. You're just like, all right, that's it.
Calling people for hours and getting a busy signal. Who's on the phone for so
Yeah.
long?
Mom didn't need to text me to tell me to come home. Street lights are on. Get your ass home.
Now, did you have to deal with the whole ringing the thing and getting the operator to connect you, or
No.
oh, okay, like the Lassie days? Okay, all right, because we had one of those phones,
Brother.
but you opened it and pulled out the regular phone. It was like just
Oh
for
my
show,
goodness.
but it
Oh, it
was
was
cool.
like no, no,
But I
no.
loved Lassie, and I knew that was like right before.
No. It was actually one of those. If you put one of the phones in front of kids these days, they wouldn't even know, right? The only
Oh,
reason
the
they would know
rotary.
is from that
Yeah.
Fisher Price toy that you pull the phone. But yeah, yeah. I'm sure most people are familiar with that phone still, right? But just coming back, I've been drawn to watching like older movies, simpler stuff, without all the violence and just that simpler attitude. Like I put The Wizard of Oz on. I mean, great movie for us, with ascension and the symbolism and all that. But that wasn't why I watched it. I just wanted that lightness to everything. And that's what was really come flooding in with this sort of nostalgia is the lightness to things and remembering like maybe little kids shows or things that he did or just how more simple things were then and really wanting and kind of breathing that in like we talked about that nostalgia. You want to breathe it in and bring it in back into this experience. So I am really feeling that coming back up a lot again and kind of breathing that into the experience again. So I think it really is coming into play more and more. And I'm getting much more playful in turn for it. So I'm feeling more relaxed by being okay with just playing. Like, really giving
I,
up being an adult.
I think a lot of us have
Yeah. I'll show
we've
you what I made. Let's show you. I showed you this. So we've been working with the clay. I finished this one. Remember I showed
Oh
you?
yeah, you painted it.
I
Wow,
painted
that's
it.
beautiful.
It's got a little frog and it's got a little butterfly.
I love that blue. Wow, that's so beautiful.
Yeah. So that was really fun. And that's
That's
playing.
awesome. And that's an
Yeah.
incense holder, right?
What's that? And yeah, I got to just put incense in. I can just put my incense sticks in or whatever.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. Little tree trick. And then and then I started working on this one's next. If you guys I know you guys like crafty ideas, so that's why I like to.
Oh wow, that's so
So
cool.
this is where, yeah, you take a jar. There's the front door. So yeah, I'm building all this up. So I'll have that to show you guys soon.
That's
Everyone
really
knows
cool.
about it. That's getting there, yeah.
So
And
it's like a mason jar?
it's just, yeah, it was a spaghetti sauce jar,
Oh, wow.
right? But I'll
Yeah.
be able, you can put, I mean, you can use them for a vase or whatever, but you can put, I think it's neat to put candles in it because you put
Oh,
the
yeah.
windows in. So, and
Great.
yeah, it's kind of hard to see it right now. It's all white and everything, but yeah, just having fun with those creative ideas. I haven't even really drawn or worked 2D much at all lately. It's just mostly been 3D. So again, really back into that spatial awareness and feeling comforted. I think it's the key. This is our theme, I think, this week.
With the
It's
rocking, we're
comfort
comforting ourselves.
of
Yeah.
spatial awareness. Yeah. Yeah. That's
That's
that's what
awesome.
I'm
That's
really feeling because I'm really feeling that sensation too. Like when I'm working on it and working with the clay and just like this is good, you know. Maybe it's getting more comfortable with the physical and being so miserable in it at times. So maybe it is becoming a more comfortable experience. We're able to more self comfort and kind of get juicy with the spatial thing, in a different way, in a
right.
different way than we've experienced before. Um, there's a new sensory sort of awareness to it. Yeah. That I think we're feeling in a physical way. I think
Hmm.
this is kind of what we're adjusting to. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, let's see. Suso's in the audience, and we were actually talking about our either on the way to ECETI on the way back if we're taking a road trip. Some of us stopping into your bar and checking you out. I think that'd be cool for us to have a little meetup on the way or on the way back because I think we got to go right through there. But we'll get the details on the location to see. I think that'd be
Mm.
kind of cool. Have a little
Hmm.
meetup.
Yeah.
Unless you can come to ECETI, that'd be awesome.
Hmm.
But we'll need to stop by Colorado anyway. So beautiful mountains.
Yeah, that would be nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be flying in and out, so I'm not sure. I'll know when I'm there probably, but
Ooh,
yeah.
you'll probably get some pretty good shots flying in of like Mount St. Helens and Mount Adams.
Oh, that would be
Coming
cool.
from Canada, I think you'll fly right over near where the ranch is to get to Portland because it's kind
Yeah,
of
yeah. Yeah, that's
so.
right.
Have your cameras ready. You know
Yeah, yeah.
that could be pretty
That would be
cool.
cool. Yeah, unless I go to Cali first. I'm not sure. It depends on the finances, but I might I might go if I'm coming from California down to there or not, or coming straight across, but I'll know closer to the date. So we'll see. We'll see. But
Yeah.
that would be cool to see Mount St. Helens because I
Oh
remember when that
yeah.
erupted. That
Oh
was really
yeah. Me
cool.
too. Yeah, that was a big deal too. Yeah, Shiny, who went to Contact in the Desert, sent me pictures with her and Graham Hancock and David Wilcock, and
Wow.
yeah, so that was pretty cool. So
That's cool.
she got to do like she even got to sit front row with Graham Hancock. So she sent me some of those pictures. I hope to have her on to discuss Contact in
Yeah.
the Desert. When I looked at the list of people there, I was like, oh my gosh, there's so many people, and so many of them were speaking at the same time, and I'm like, that would kind of suck, you know? You have to pick
Yeah.
one over the other, and
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
so much going on. But it looked really fun, you know?
Well, hopefully there'll be lots of videos on YouTube's of the different stuff, that they're talking about, and hopefully they have some new information. Yeah.
Yeah, if
So
you like miss one, then you can just catch the YouTube video or something.
yeah,
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 I imagine it would be like binge watching that kind of stuff for the weekend, you know, but in person, because I've
yeah,
done that before.
yeah. That's a good way of putting it. Yeah, kind of be like that. Yeah. Well, we'll have to. If I start finding them, I'll send them over to you. So, but yeah, I'm looking forward to some new info. So we'll see if they've got anything, or it's the same information as the last couple years, but we'll see. That so many different speakers, right?
Yeah. So something curious came up. I was watching what's that guy's That's Incredible or That's Impossible channel.
That's a possible channel.
Yeah, well, he put one out. You know, he always does like where they'll have a compilation of like world changes and stuff. And a lot of times it's sort of fear based or whatever, but I still enjoy the footage of what's going on and
Sensation.
stuff like that.
Some of it's really cool.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah. So you have to look with discernment. I'm not, you know.
Yeah.
But what was cool about it is in a recent BQH session, I forgot how the wording was, but it was like, when will we see the majority of these shifts happening or major earth changes or whatever? And it was like when you begin to see the rivers flowing backwards. And I thought, that's interesting. So
Oh,
I'm watching this video, and like right at 11 minutes in, somebody's videotaping, and they're like, "Look at whatever river it's flowing backwards. We're facing blah blah blah," and I'm like, "Oh my God, what's the chances of
wow.
getting that in a session?" And then like a couple of weeks later, people are beginning to see rivers flowing backwards. You know,
Well, I think
that's
we're into June now. And I think things are going to start to get really interesting over the next few months. Look at all the crazy things we saw last summer.
so I'm like scratching my head. How does a river flow backwards? It was my understanding that they start at the mountains and or a spring somewhere and just flow downhill. So would that mean
Yeah,
a whole plate shifts and it begins to?
and that would be an earthquake. So,
Right. That's really weird. Yeah.
magnetics.
Magnetics.
The magnetosphere shifting.
Yeah.
I
The
mean,
poles
this is an
flipping.
idea, but
Yeah.
literally with the shifts in the magnetosphere and the changes in the magnetosphere, will that affect on the pull on water? Possibly. Just an idea that it's
Yeah.
more than just gravitational pull. I think that's it. We are, so much of our science and our learning in our schools being based on gravity, and gravity being sort of this foundation for everything. And I think it's actually not. So I think that there's a lot more things that are involved in the push and pull of how we move around in our environment. So when thinking about the water, well, and why would it flow this? Because if everything's not just based on the gravity, the fact that it's just going down, that it's not all about that. I mean, look at ley lines, energy lines, the veins.
We know
When
it
we
affects water.
and
You
we
know.
think about all these different, the veins and capillaries and all these things. The Earth has that too. Just like we do all through our system, and the rivers are blood vessels and all of these different things. And so with these changes and with these shifts, how is that affecting all these different veins of energy and matter, literally physically within the earth, and different things from the crystals and the gold and the water and the lava, all of it. But then to the magnetics, the magnetosphere and the poles
And we
and
see
who
weird
knows
stuff going
what
on
else.
with that. So yeah,
You
it's
get
all
into
tied
phase
together.
lines and
Yeah.
things, and literally the energy and the push of the currents, what's seen and unseen. So I think it's probably the answer has got nothing to do with gravity on why those rivers are going to move backwards,
Yeah.
but they
I'd say
will.
the poles probably shifting would be the biggest factor.
Yeah. But I mean, it's not like, I mean, yeah, even if it's a pole shifting or a plate, like, or the plate shifting, well, you're going to
Well, I
feel
think
that.
the magnetic
But the
poles
magnetic
shifting.
poles, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Because
yeah,
they're
they're
already being really wonky and moving a bunch towards each other
moving
in
faster
Siberia
now.
or something. Yeah.
I think it's past the point of no return now, where I think Suspicious Observers, was it just last week, put out a video of it being now past that marker, kind of where it was like,
I got to check that out. I haven't seen this.
I'll see if I can look it up and send it to you. I think he mentioned the information really quickly, so maybe that's something worth looking into. See if I can do a bit of research on, um, to find out what that marker was. Because the last few charts I saw that he kept posting were like, I think ran to like 2015, where it shows you the acceleration of how much the pole has moved, the North Pole has moved. Where it kind of, for 100 years it sort of went bing, 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 and then it just went like this over the last 50, and it's accelerating. It's just getting faster and faster and faster. So yeah, there
It's
was a,
trippy.
a marker. They said that once it's past this certain point, it's kind of,
Yeah.
so we'll see.
There's an interesting video actually on. You can actually look it up on YouTube. I think it's in Ecuador. It's right on the equator, and they've got like this funnel uh, draining into like a bucket, right? And then they've got one like right on the equator, and then like 20 feet each direction. And if you're north of the equator, they put a little flower in there and you can see it spinning around. You know, the reason our toilet water swirls or our bath water, whatever.
The toilet in Australia goes the other way.
Exactly. Well, you can do it like 20 foot apart. You know, even the
Yeah.
one that was right on it, it just went straight down and it didn't spin. So if you're right on the equator, your toilet's right on the equator,
It doesn't spin.
it doesn't spin. It
It
just
just
goes
goes.
straight down, straight shoot. Amazing. Huh?
But you know what? I think that's a perfect example to why the rivers, like if you think about the water and the spiraling, well, why
That's
would it
what
be
made me
the
think
other
of
way?
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we could totally see some the poles shift either magnetically or I think definitely if it's geographically they move. You know, then we're probably looking at slosh, right? What they call slosh, where water gets displaced, and depending on how fast it happens. But they're already
Yeah.
saying it's slowing down a little bit. So if that accelerates, the slowdown accelerates. If that makes sense. If it starts slowing down
Yeah.
faster and faster, we could see the whole 3 days of darkness, like they talk about, and start spinning the other way. I don't know. There's so many exciting possibilities. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then well, the ground's going to shake too. So then I mean, that's a whole other matter. Because if you ever, if you ever, if you ever, like take sand with water and shake it, and all the water comes up to the surface.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that's something to consider. That basically, it creates like instant muck, instant muck, like literally that the shaking of the ground can, and it becomes like quicksand in essence. So
Oh.
yeah, that's something that a lot of people don't consider, which just popped into my mind. Um, and I think that I saw videos on talk that maybe it's being erased out of the history books. So
Oh,
um,
you think it's tied with the whole mud flood thing or something, maybe?
yeah,
Or
yeah, kind of like mud floods.
yeah.
Yeah, like the mud floods. So, but
There's so much to consider, you know, and there's such a. I mean, that's why I think it's like it's after a certain point, it can just be a distraction from other things you can do about because it's like
oh,
all
for
these rabbit holes you can get lost in for months at a time, you know.
being there.
We've both been there, yeah,
Both
plenty
be
of
there.
times.
Knee deep, shovels at the ready, passing
Eventually,
dirt back and forth to each other.
eventually, you have to just crawl out and say, you know what, I just gotta
Yeah,
wait
I'm
for something
tired.
else. Yeah,
Can we make mud pies now?
yeah. Well, that's awesome. So,
That's
I do
it.
have, I'll have a video coming out soon, you guys, about ECETI and within a day or so, finally. And but we're pretty much going to have to just call them to set things up until they get it set up on the website. You can check the events page, but right now it doesn't go to that date. I asked them about it, and he said, well, right now they'll just have to call in, or I guess maybe you can email and try to reserve something that way. But it has to be done that way. And I guess if enough of us call, they'll say, hey, maybe we should go ahead and put it online. I think they just think not many people are coming or something, maybe. I don't know.
You know what? Emails, you send the email and
I was trying to make it easy on them, though, so they didn't have to deal with
yeah,
so many emails with this big 4th of July event they have coming up, you know.
right,
So
right. Oh well,
we'll see what happens.
maybe I don't know. Maybe they have their own method. So
All
yeah,
right.
we
So,
still got we
whoops.
still got a couple months off. So we'll try that, and if that gets too confusing, then go from there.
Yeah. At least we have the date, and we can make the arrangements with planes or all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, anything else? Were we expecting anything that you have to tell us about before we get together next week? Any huge
I don't think so.
asteroids? No, I'm just playing.
No asteroids.
Energy spikes or anything? Or just have
Yeah,
to watch the Schumann?
it's gonna be an interesting month, guys. Yeah. There's so much information. I could just regurgitate other people's stuff. I don't want to do that right now. So, Aluna's got some great info out right now. Shri and Kira just put their June ascension video out. They talk about some big energy days and energy coming in. So I think if you're curious about that, go check that out. It's gonna
Okay.
be a good month. Well, it's gonna be a big month.
I have been noticing it amplifies the feeling you're in. So if you know you want to make sure you don't get aggravated or in a bad mood
I think
because it
so
will
too.
amplify that too. So
I
I've been
think
really having to be aware and present and you know, and that's really all it takes. Once you can do that, then you flip the switch right away and begin to amplify it in the positive direction. But it's not hard to get triggered. You know what I mean?
No,
Or,
but I mean, the switch is easy to flick though. Like you
yeah.
said, like flicking a switch and just being being aware and giving yourself that time to say. And sometimes we feel down and out, and it's okay. You just cut yourself some slack, and tomorrow's a new day, right?
Yeah.
So it
And I
doesn't.
imagine it's harder when you're in pain because that's, I've been a lot sore and it just makes you kind of agitated and
Yeah,
if
I've
you're
always
dealing with
very
pain.
uncomfortable a
Yeah.
few times over the last couple of weeks. So I do feel so much better. And I know mom as well too. She was dealing with a lot of back pain and just she was so happy and relieved. She was like in tears of happiness this morning
Awesome.
from being relieved from pain all of a sudden. So
Awesome.
yeah. And I feel a real lift too. So I do really feel like the energy's really lifted last couple of days, but it was really hard for a couple of weeks. I certainly wasn't feeling good. Wasn't feeling up to last week. Definitely had a lot of fluey feelings, achy, sore, was feeling really sucky at times. But that's okay. It's okay.
It's all part of the process. It makes the good days feel better, because they're not the bad days,
yeah,
right?
exactly. You know what? It makes the highs feel so much nicer. But I'm still quite determined that I want to bring joy, bliss, abundance, and love into every moment.
Hallelujah.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for being here, Michelle. Lots of love to you.
Love you so much. Love you guys. I hope you're all doing well. If you need an ear, you need some support, or you want a dream interpretation at all, I'm not charging anything. I'm just here to help. So you can send me an email and let me know how you're doing. So are you coming to say hi before we go?
Yeah.
Come on, Bubba. Come on, come say hi. There she is. Yes, Zoe. Thank you. All right. Just got to say her.
Lots of love, Zoe. And everybody in the chat and watching later, lots of love to you. And we'll see you in the next one. Have a good one.
Thanks, guys.
Peace. If you'd like to support the work I do, go to paypal.me/UOTF. Thanks.